What's the hubbub? The DCU is just getting started. So why are some people already declaring it dead? Imagine waking up in 2030, Batman has been established. Wonder Woman has returned. The Justice League is taking shape. Characters like Supergirl, Lobo, Booster Gold, Green Lantern, The Flash, Blue Beetle, Martian Manhunter, and others have become part of a growing DC universe. At that point, would Warner Brothers really throw all of that away and start over again? Or is that exactly why so many people are misreading what's happening today? I mean, anti-woke grifting channels want to prevent this from happening. They tried to flop Nolan recently and found out their influence reach couldn't touch him. I mean, look at this rant by JesterBell recently.
Leo DiCaprio and Christian Bale passed on this role, and all these major actors were passing on Odysseus, so Matt Damon took it. I'd love to find out the history of that. I would love to find out, because it seems like there might be a reason why they passed on this role, as Matt Damon is evidently playing an emasculated Odysseus. Oh, look at that. We also got confirmation that Travis Scott is going to have a rap song playing at the end credits of this film, because everything in this film has to be contemporary, and Nolan's idea that he was trying to get this so accurate was a complete lie. By the way, that is also Oscar bait, as I've talked about it before. The Elvis movie really, the Austin Butler one really had to lean in to how Elvis was influenced by Black artists and did covers for Black artists that he made more popular. Maybe as a way to apologize for the fact that a lot of people claim that Elvis stole music from Black artists, but also I highly felt that mixing in trap music to Elvis Doja Cat in that movie was their ploy to get Oscars, to make it sound like this is meaningful in how we are exploring, like, Black culture and Black music and stuff like that. I feel like that is also part of the reason why Nolan is doing this.
It's a bit all over the place. Actors pass on roles all the time. Will Smith was offered Neo in The Matrix, a great movie. It happens. It wasn't because Neo was too woke. That grift term wasn't around yet. As for Elvis, this isn't new that he grew up poor and often befriended Black musicians. It's well documented, and many of them respected him in that day. James Brown even said he was doing moves and a style that influenced other Black musicians after him. John Lennon once said, "Before Elvis, there was nothing." Outside of Michael Jackson, there is probably no bigger influence over pop culture to this day, arguably. That doesn't make his history woke. Clearly, you guys and gals need some new hobbies, like maybe watching movies before predetermining their level of wokeness. Every James Gunn and DC movie is being attacked in this vein, alongside a weird division from Zack Snyder fans who can only accept him in charge, against DC fans who just want to see the next thing. DC superhero movies have fan division that Marvel simply does not. Marvel has the general audience on their side, who many of which do not even touch comic books or even attend lesser-known Marvel character movies as high anymore. See Thunderbolts as the primary evidence. Incidentally, a great movie to me, and better than Spider-Man Brand New Day, but the public still come out for the tentpoles like Spider-Man, Deadpool, and Avengers. The reason Spider-Man is doing as I predicted, to destroy at the box office, isn't even film quality. I gave it a 67% in my review score. Don't get me wrong, there was solid fan service and good theater fun on visuals in action scenes, but Punisher was cheesy and goofy, spoiler, shooting Spider-Man by mistake to prove his incompetency, and it lacked a great top-tier villain. That doesn't take away from the draw I expected on ticket sales for the webbed wonder. I wish it was as great as it's glazed to be, as that would help the genre as a whole more. It's doing what it should do. Meanwhile, the superhero genre itself is down, meaning people don't come out for mid-tier character movies. We know that from Thunderbolts not even hitting $400 million. It literally takes tentpoles with top A-list Marvel heroes such as Spidey, whom they wait on, to go out and see. The DCU is too soon in beginning stages to have tentpoles yet. But what if I told you that by the end of this decade, the entire Restore the SnyderVerse channels will give up on replacing James Gunn with Zack Snyder again? Not because fans stopped caring, not because James Gunn said so, but because Warner Brothers simply won't have a business reason to go backwards. And that's something a lot of YouTube channels aren't talking about.
This universe isn't working. David Ellison knows this. Now I get from a business standpoint that he doesn't want to just, get rid of him.
Today, we're breaking down why projects like Batman, Wonder Woman, Lobo, and the rest of the DCU aren't just individual movies, they're pieces of a long-term strategy that could lock in the DC universe through 2030. We'll also talk about why the Spider-Man versus Supergirl comparison doesn't actually prove anything, why some online creators keep moving the goalposts, and why the biggest mistake people are making is judging a universe that's barely gotten started. So if you've been hearing that the DCU is already doomed, you might want to stick around, because reality and logic tells a very different story. If you are a Snyder bro, or just Gunn and DCU hater in general, consider this as your free, much-needed therapy. One thing that gets overlooked in all the DC superhero film online debate is how shared universes actually work. By the way, hubbub homies, if you like the content, please hit the like button to help against the small channel algorithm demons. So, if James Gunn successfully maps out DC releases through 2030, the conversation about rebooting again or bringing back the SnyderVerse becomes increasingly unrealistic, not because anyone is trying to erase the past, but because that's simply not how studios operate. Besides the Snyder cast pushing their 60s and in retirement age soon. Think about it from Warner Brothers' perspective. If you've invested billions of dollars into building a new interconnected universe with Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Lanterns, Lobo, and whatever all comes next, why would you suddenly hit the reset button after finally establishing momentum? You wouldn't. That's the entire point of a shared universe. Every new movie builds relationships, introduces characters, and sets up future stories. By the time the DCU reaches 2030, potentially even into a first Justice League movie by then, or planned by 2032, audiences could have spent years following these versions of the Justice League and the wider DC universe. At that point, another full reboot would mean throwing away years of storytelling, character development, and audience investment. History shows that successful franchises don't reboot every few years, they evolve. The Marvel Cinematic Universe didn't restart after Phase 1, it expanded. Characters came and went, new heroes joined, the world grew larger. But the foundation remained intact because audiences were invested in that continuity. That's likely the goal for the DCU. Instead of constantly restarting, the universe can refresh itself by introducing new generations of heroes, exploring different corners of the DC mythology, and allowing older characters to pass the torch over time. That approach is far more sustainable than pressing the reset button every decade. This is also why arguments about restoring the Snyderverse become less practical as time goes on. Whether someone loved Zack Snyder's films or didn't enjoy them, the reality is that every year the new DCU expands, it becomes more difficult, both creatively and financially, to abandon that continuity in favor of another one. Studios don't typically replace a functioning shared universe with an older version once audiences have committed to the new one. That doesn't diminish Snyder's contributions. His films remain part of DC's cinematic history and continue to have dedicated fans. But moving forward with a new continuity doesn't require undoing the previous one. Both can exist as different chapters in DC's broader legacy. By 2030, if Gunn's plan succeeds, the conversation likely won't be about whether DC should reboot again. It will be about what's coming in Phase 2, the next Justice League event, new character introductions, and where the universe goes after its first major saga. That's what every successful franchise wants, reaching a point where the discussion shifts from "should we start over" to "what's the next chapter?" And that's why the next several years are so important. If DC Studios delivers consistent quality, audiences will naturally become invested in this continuity. Once that happens, another reboot becomes far less appealing, not because it's impossible, but because there would be little reason to abandon a universe that people are already enjoying. If you've spent 5 minutes on the DC-related superhero part of YouTube, you've probably seen the thumbnails, often by Zack Snyder only fans, who are mad the public moved on from his DCEU established verse. James Gunn panicking. The DCU is over. And my personal favorite, a movie that hasn't even come out yet, is somehow the biggest woke disaster in history. Apparently, some people own time machines. Here's the thing. Criticism is fair. If a movie is bad, say it's bad. If a trailer doesn't work for you, that's completely valid. But there's a difference between criticism and turning every headline into the cinematic equivalent of a 5-alarm fire. The DCU has barely left the starting line. James Gunn isn't inheriting a universe that's been running smoothly for 15 years. He's building a brand new one from scratch. That's a completely different challenge than maintaining an established franchise. Yet every casting announcement, every production update, and every rumor somehow becomes proof that the entire universe is collapsing. Really? Because that's not how Hollywood works. If DC Studios wants consistent releases through 2030, projects like Batman, Wonder Woman, and Lobo have to move through development and production years in advance. That's how blockbuster filmmaking has always worked. These movies don't appear because someone snapped their fingers on a Tuesday afternoon. The funny part is that some of the loudest online commentators seem to move the goalposts faster than the Flash. If a movie gets announced, they'll say it will never happen. If it gets greenlit, they'll say production will be cancelled. If filming starts, they'll predict disaster. If audiences like it, well, then suddenly box office is the only thing that matters. And if the box office is strong, time to find another reason why everything is secretly terrible. It's almost impressive. Then there's the constant comparison to Spider-Man. If Spider-Man makes more than Supergirl, the DCU is doomed. Wait, what? Spider-Man is one of the biggest fictional characters on Earth. He's been a global phenomenon for decades. Supergirl is being introduced as part of a brand new shared universe. Those aren't equivalent starting points. Marvel fans have been saying for years that Spider-Man's success doesn't automatically define the health of the entire MCU because he's an exceptionally popular character. The same logic applies here. A Spider-Man movie outperforming Supergirl is not shocking. It also doesn't tell us much about the long-term future of the DCU. They aren't really related at all. 20-year successful verse against B or C-list hero in an upstart DCU after the Snyder established verse flopped out for good. What actually matters is whether DC keeps releasing movies people enjoy, whether audiences keep showing up, and whether the universe continues to grow. One thing that's also worth remembering is how online incentives work. Outrage gets clicks. Dramatic predictions get engagement. That's true across YouTube, social media, and entertainment coverage in general. That doesn't mean every skeptical creator is acting in bad faith. Plenty of people offer thoughtful criticism and raise legitimate concerns. But viewers should also recognize when a channel's business model depends on declaring every piece of DC news a catastrophe before anyone has even seen the finished movie. The Restore the SnyderVerse community still has passionate supporters, and they're entitled to hope for more stories in that continuity. At the same time, supporting Zack Snyder's work doesn't require assuming every new DC project is destined to fail. Those ideas can coexist. Likewise, debates about woke storytelling often generate far more heat than light. Sometimes people sincerely dislike creative decisions. Sometimes creators make choices that don't resonate. But reducing every casting announcement or story decision to a culture war talking point rarely says much about the quality of the movie itself. The bottom line is simple. Judge the films after you've seen them. Celebrate what works. Criticize what doesn't. But maybe we can retire the weekly tradition of declaring the DCU dead before the opening weekend has even arrived. You think James Gunn didn't know Spider-Man and this winter Avengers wouldn't do huge numbers? It's not related to the stage he's in, taking over the dumpster fire left by the decimated DCEU. At this rate, the DCU has supposedly ended about 400 times, and it's still just getting started. A couple movie releases in, one Gunn directed in Superman, that was critically praised and succeeded in box office beating all 3 Marvel movies in 2025. The other not directed by Gunn that flopped in Supergirl, hardly the evidence to give up on it. The DCEU functioned in the superhero boom era, getting 10 years, with a lot of poor movies along the way and a few standout successes. I want to see how Clayface is. I just saw a new Lanterns promo that blew me away. Out of the 2 DCU movies released, there hasn't been a blatantly bad one yet. Quite honestly, Supergirl, a flop movie, was better in quality to me than Batman vs. Superman, a train wreck of a bad movie. It used Batman to sell tickets, had no anti-woke agenda against it, and they didn't make a decent movie out of it. I'd take Supergirl over it easily. It was suppressed viewership because a weird anti-woke agenda that the DCEU never experienced, because that wasn't a thing back then. Hell, Wonder Woman was before the anti-woke grifting channels took off. It was before the Marvel period of girl boss movies that set back how every female-led movie would be viewed and treated ahead of releases moving forward. You had the DCEU in the perfect era, making some pretty lackluster movies without a true binding plan. I'll say it. No SnyderVerse, no problem. Please subscribe to the Hubbub and comment down below.
Don't hurt me. I'll be your friend.
In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light.